Coming up next on KPBS Evening Edition, Occupy protesters set up tents at the San Diego Federal Building in defiance of police, while across the country, hundreds more protesters are arrested in demonstrations. We'll speak with a lawyer who's trying to stop the threat of more arrests here in San Diego.
And just how did San Diego schools end up in financial mess they're in? We'll talk to an expert about the long spiral down. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Joanne Ferrian.
And I'm Dwayne Brown. The verdicts are in for a former San Diego police officer accused of misconduct.
Anthony Arevalos was accused of asking women for sexual favors after pulling them over as DUI suspects. Today, a jury found him guilty on 12 counts, including asking for a bribe and assault and battery by a police officer. 7 women had accused him of making inappropriate comments or touching them. Arevalos was an 18-year veteran of the San Diego Police Department. He was fired in April.
San Diego developer Doug Manchester is buying the Union Tribune newspaper. KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma has been following this surprising story. The paper was sold about 2 years ago. What do we know about this latest deal, Amitha?
Well, we don't know that much about the terms of the agreement. Platinum Equity is selling the paper to Doug Manchester, also known as Papa Doug. He is one of San Diego's biggest developers. We keep on hearing estimates that he may have paid over $100 million for the sale of the paper, but we're not actually going to find out the terms until the end of escrow sometime in mid-December. One of the big questions looming over this sale is, did Mr. Manchester buy the paper for the land it sits on, which is expected to be extremely valuable and one that could be developed into possibly a hotel or a retail outlet, or did he buy the paper as a media investment, or both?
Now, you spoke with some reporters at the paper and folks in the business community. What did they have to say?
Well, you know, there is some skittishness among reporters and some members within the business community. They are questioning whether Mr. Manchester bought the paper to use as a personal mouthpiece to represent his business interests or his political interests. He is a big contributor to Republican candidates and causes. He donated $125,000 back in 2008 during the effort to ban same-sex marriages.
KPBS reporter Amitha Sharma. The Occupy San Diego movement spread beyond the Civic Center Plaza today. Members of a janitors union joined immigrant rights activists for a march on the federal building downtown this afternoon. The union claims immigration agents are targeting their members. This protest comes a day after arrests at the Occupy San Diego encampment at the Civic Center Plaza. Joanne is talking with a lawyer for the protesters tonight over at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
As you just saw in the news, today was a national day of action for Occupy protesters. Across the country, hundreds were arrested, many for disorderly conduct and resisting arrest. Here in San Diego, dozens have been arrested since the movement began more than a month ago. Joining me is Brian Pease, lawyer for the Occupy San Diego protesters. He's filed a request for an injunction against the city of San Diego and San Diego police for what he says is a violation of protesters' First Amendment rights. Thank you, Brian, for being here.
Thank you for having me, Joanne.
Tell me a little bit more about the legal action you are taking.
Okay, sure. It's narrowly focused on San Diego Municipal Code Section 54.0110, and that's a specific municipal code ordinance that makes it illegal to put any object down on any city property whatsoever. So it sounds overbroad and arbitrary, and it is. That's what the lawsuit is challenging.
So when we saw the protesters being arrested, it was a couple of weeks ago when police decided to go into the Civic Center Plaza, and that was the ordinance they were arresting them under?
That's one of them. They've also been charging people with unlawful assembly, which is kind of odd because that requires violent and tumultuous conduct, yet they've been arresting people at like 2 a.m. while they're sleeping, so kind of hard for them to be engaging in violence while they're sleeping. So I think, unlawful assembly is being used as kind of a catch-all to just, an assembly isn't unlawful just because the police say it's unlawful. There has to be some conduct that makes it unlawful and outside of the First Amendment. But the point is that they're really kind of overreaching and looking for, there may not be, the police and the city may not want people camping out and protesting in this manner, but, you still have to have an actual law that you're going to use to arrest people. You can't just charge things that don't apply. And in the case of the San Diego Municipal Code ordinance that they're using, which, the main thing, they have been charging a few people with that, but the main issue with that is that they're using it to threaten people that are coming into Civic Center Plaza. So they've got the whole plaza sealed off with water barricades, which are these big plastic tanks of water, so that are, really hard to move. I mean, you can't move them. So the only way into Civic Center Plaza is either climb over one of these water barricades or go through this narrow passageway that they've got flanked with police officers who will then tell every person going in, hey, if you're carrying anything, you can't set that down. And under this ordinance, it actually does state that it's illegal to place any object on it.
So are you challenging the ordinance or the fact that police are using the ordinance to arrest people?
Both. I think the ordinance is written so overbroadly and allows for so much arbitrary enforcement.
Because really anyone could be arrested under
exactly.
that. Right.
Everybody's violating it all the time.
I can put my backpack down, or homeless people presumably are always in violation.
Always, yeah. So I'm trying to strike it down on its face, but at least as it's being applied to specifically block free speech, which in this case would be, you can't set that sign down, or you can't set down, even if it's right next to you, that would be an unlawful, unconstitutional use of the ordinance.
So is this unique to San Diego? Because we're seeing arrests all across the country, Occupy protesters. So is this any different than why other people are being arrested across the country?
I haven't seen an ordinance like this in any other city, and the legislative history on the ordinance is that it was put in place to stop dumpsters from being taking up space in alleyways. But the ordinance could have been specifically narrowed or specifically written for that, rather than having such broad language that it can actually be used to criminalize putting down any object. Even a coffee cup on a park bench could be in violation of the ordinance.
So, Brian, you filed this yesterday. What happens next?
So next, I've served the lawsuit and the request for a temporary restraining order on the city, and the court will now either rule on it, but more likely they'll want to wait and hear. The judge will want to wait and hear what the city has to say about it, and then issue a ruling on whether we'll get a temporary restraining order, and then there'll be more litigation. The final step would be to get a final permanent injunction against the ordinance.
Brian Pease, thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah.
The U.S. and Mexico regularly work together to keep the border region clean and safe. Today, the Environmental Protection Agency continued the collaboration. In Kearney Mesa, EPA officials presented Mexican government representatives with $53,000 worth of hazardous materials equipment. Both countries stressed the importance of being prepared to work together and communicate clearly in any emergency situation. They say hazards know no boundaries. The Navy is looking at algae to help the fleet cut back on fossil fuels. 20,000 gallons of algae biofuel help power the USS Paul Foster from Point Loma to Point Hueneme on the Central Coast overnight. It's the Navy's largest alternative fuels test so far. By 2016, the Navy hopes to deploy a great green fleet, including nuclear vessels, hybrid electric ships, and some using biofuels. The military uses more than 90% of the energy consumed by the federal government. From alternative fuels to alternatives for retirement, our series on aging continues tonight with a look at two very different retirement communities. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Tonight on KPBS, ride on John Spreckle's Impossible Railroad and go into a Cold War bomb shelter under SDSU on Ken Kramer's About San Diego at 8. Then at 8:30 on California's Gold, join Huell Hauser and Vincent Price's daughter, Victoria, on a tour of her father's vast collection of fine art. And at 9, a simple suicide turns into murder on Inspector Morse, Dead on Time. That's all tonight on KPBS.
The American people
have named PBS
the most trusted source of news
and public affairs
for the 8th year
in a row.
Trust.
The American people have spoken.
Thank you.
I'm Ray Suarez. On the next News Hour, Energy Secretary Stephen Chu faces congressional scrutiny over taxpayer loans to a failed solar company. That's Thursday on the PBS NewsHour.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
About 65 faculty and staff members from San Diego State joined in a one-day walkout over disputed pay raises. The raises were never paid due to state budget cuts. The protest comes one day after Cal State trustees approved a proposal to raise student tuition again.
When's it going to end? That's just all I'm thinking.
After 3 tuition increases in the past year, this 20-year-old biology major is disappointed to hear his tuition may go up another $500 next fall if the state budget projections don't work out.
The school's getting money taken away from them by the state, but I think we should be cutting from other places.
So it kind of doesn't make sense that they're charging us more and then paying out more. It really doesn't solve anything. And I'm a single mom too, so it's probably going to be really hard if they decide not to increase the financial aid to compensate for it this spring.
The 23-campus CSU system isn't the only one facing budget troubles. If the state doesn't raise enough tax revenue, UC system, as well as K-12 schools, could also feel the budget pain next year. For San Diego State students, another 9% increase would push tuition to nearly $6,000 a year.
These students are really the future of the state of California. They're the future economic engine. Without their education and being able to prepare them for the workforce, the state is going to be, worse off because of it.
Now, any tuition increase would be contingent on what happens at the state level, but for a broader look at what's happened to funding for California education, Joanne has some perspective with her guests at the Evening Edition Roundtable.
For the past several weeks, we've been telling you about impending budget cuts to San Diego schools. And just yesterday, a report from the nonpartisan California Legislative Analyst's Office confirmed those cuts are likely in January, given the state's grim financial picture. Today, we want to take a step back and give you the big picture. About 40 years ago, California ranked 5th when it came to education funding. Today, by some measures, we've fallen nearly to the bottom. Here's an excerpt from a KPBS documentary broadcast last year on the legacy of Proposition 13. The program takes a close look at what happened to education funding after California taxpayers voted down their property taxes in 1978. Arguably, the most profound effect of Prop 13 has been on the way local schools are funded.
So prior to Prop 13 being passed, local school boards with the support of voters could increase property tax rates. And that increase in property tax revenues would flow directly to the school district. So school boards back then not only set policy, but they determined how much money they were going to have. And that's very different from where we are today.
Joining me to explain where we are today is Julian Bets, professor in the Department of Economics at UC San Diego and executive director of San Diego Education Research Alliance. Julian, thanks for coming back.
I'm glad to be here.
So last time we spoke, it was more than a year ago, and we were talking about education cuts, but really things have gotten worse since then, haven't they?
Substantially worse. We have an unusually bad recession in California, and it's really hurting.
And when we have a recession in California, in this state, it means that income taxes go down, sales taxes go down, the state has less money, and that trickles down to schools. So it's a little bit different than in other states, isn't it?
Well, I think all states have this problem, and other states are going to have mid-year cuts just as are going to happen here, I think. But we seem to be particularly vulnerable in this particular recession. So
bring us up to date in terms of what's happening now with the state budget and how that's going to affect our schools locally.
Well, it's one big kabuki play in Sacramento, isn't it? We passed a state budget that's balanced on overly rosy projections for tax revenues. And in this particular budget, there are 2 trigger clauses. One said that if tax revenues were more than $1 billion short, then Cal State, the University of California, programs for seniors, for disabled, would all be cut. If tax revenues fall short by $2 billion or more, then K-12, the public schools, would be hurt as well. And we just heard this week from the Legislative Analyst's Office that tax revenues are not going to be $1 or $2 billion short. They're going to be more like $3.7 billion short. So mid-year cuts seem quite likely for a whole set of government services, including public schools and universities.
Don't we already have among the highest teacher-student ratio in the country?
I think we have the second highest pupil-teacher ratio, thank goodness for Utah. We are about a third above the pupil-teacher ratio you see nationally, about 20-to-1 versus 15-to-1 nationally.
And in terms of our number of school days, because that's another place where districts have cut, how do we rank there in terms of how many school days we have?
Well, for the longest time, if you looked at these figures nationally, almost every state had a uniform policy of 180 days in a school year. A couple of years ago, we backed away from that in California because of cuts that started in 2008. Districts were allowed to remove 5 school days. A lot of districts, including San Diego Unified, have done that. Now, with this new trigger clause going into effect this winter, districts will be allowed, if they want to cut school days by another 7. So in just a matter of 2 or 3 years, we could be going from a 180-day school year down to 168. That's a lot of learning time foregone.
So you studied this impact on outcomes as well. So what happens if you're given a situation where you have larger classrooms and you have fewer school days? What happens to the quality of education?
Well, I think there's very strong evidence that length of time that students spend studying in the classroom and outside of the classroom is directly related to learning. That's no surprise, but it just jumps out in any statistical analysis. Class size matters as well, but not by quite as much as some people think. The best evidence, though, is experimental evidence that compared class sizes of about 20 to 15. That's not what we're talking about now. We're going into relatively uncharted territory where class sizes might be going from 25 to 30 or 30 to 35. And so the costs there in terms of student learning could be bigger.
There's a third variable, teacher salaries. It's something that San Diego Unified is talking about. School trustee Scott Barnett has a plan out there that says reduce salaries. Where are we in terms of teacher salary? Is that an option if we compare where we're at with the rest of the country?
Well, the latest figures I've seen place California third in the country for teacher salaries. Now, you have to be careful because the cost of living is a lot higher in California than elsewhere. There's a professor at Texas A&M who's calculated that California is about 28th ranked in spending per pupil, a large part of which is composed of by teacher salaries. But we drop from 28th to something like 43rd once you take into account the cost of living. So I don't know what can really be done there. I think if we reduce teacher salaries by a lot of promising young people would stop going into teaching or would think about teaching in another state. But it clearly is one of the major factors here.
I want to we don't have a lot of time left. There's a fourth option, which is people could pay higher taxes. We opened up with Prop 13, which is basically taxpayers said, I don't want to pay more in taxes, and we kind of ended up in this situation. Another poll came out today, too, where
Yes.
voters said what?
Well, the PPIC, the Public Policy Institute of California, put out a poll showing that a majority of Californians believe that Cal State and UC are underfunded, as they surely are, and that funding should go up. But only a minority supported a tax increase to support that. And I suspect that's exactly the same sort of pattern that PPIC would have found if they'd asked about K-12 funding. There's not much that individual districts can do, really, apart from increasing charitable donations or imposing parcel taxes. San Diego Unified tried this, I think it was last year, and it didn't come close to passing, if I remember correctly. So I think people are sympathetic. It's just that with an unemployment rate over 10%, it's really hard to imagine a major increase in taxes right now. But we need to think about how we divide the state budget into various pots, prisons, public schools, and so on.
Julian Bets, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
One of the most difficult decisions facing seniors is where to live in their final years. As part of our Envision series on aging in San Diego, Alison St John takes us to 2 very different senior communities, one upscale, the other low rent.
Hello. Ina Rubenstein lives at V, an upscale senior living community in La Jolla Village.
We had decided a long time ago that we needed to be at a place where we could age in place actively and not have to worry about getting sick later on.
Ina and her husband Erwin moved into this airy two-bedroom apartment on the 7th floor of V 2 years ago. It's a continuing care retirement community that includes assisted living and skilled nursing care for its residents.
We look for ones that where the monthly rate does not change as you move from one section to another. And when we were looking, there were only 3 in the area.
To qualify to live here, the Rubensteins had to be both financially and physically healthy.
The idea is that you come in when you're healthy and active, and you live with us for the rest of your life at whatever level of care you should need. And if you need to move to higher levels of care, you don't pay any more than what you did in independent living.
Residents of V pay an entrance fee and then between about $3,000 and $6,000 a month to live here, depending on the size of their apartment. Everyone has access to the community's amenities.
The restaurant downstairs, we have more comfort foods. We have your meatloaf, your roasted chicken, roasted turkey, that sort of thing. But we also have fresh fish every day. Upstairs, more composed, like you're going out to dinner at a nice restaurant downtown.
Until the economic downturn, there was a waiting list to get into V.
As quickly as an apartment came available, we would call someone from the wait list, and it was likely that they would take the next available apartment. However, in 2008, when things changed a little bit, and it happened to have coincided with our putting up our new tower with an additional 184 apartments, things slowed down a bit.
In this economic climate, upscale senior communities often have trouble filling their space. Meanwhile, at the other end of the financial spectrum, affordable assisted living, like this project in City Heights, often have waiting lists. Josie Davis is 76. She lives at City Heights Square, affordable senior housing run by Senior Community Centres, a private non-profit. Her late husband was in the military, and she now lives on his pension of about $1,000 a month.
The rent is still cheap because it's $577 my rent here. This is only studio, you see, because I can't afford to have the one bedroom will be $600 and something.
Davis lives alone, but surrounded by her memories.
Well, when I was young, I didn't have that much wrinkle as I have now.
Activities here are limited.
Some residents, they play that games, you know, domino and card game in the lunchroom, you know. They do that, and they have movie every Friday.
There is breakfast and lunch every day. Davis sometimes goes to the food bank to get food she cooks for herself in the evening. Nurse Carolyn Stevenson keeps an eye on more than 100 seniors living in this complex.
We're showing here in City Heights that if we provide an affordable place to live, we provide nutrition, we provide supportive services, people can live here for the rest of their lives and die here, which actually is a good thing because it means they aren't dying in an emergency room, a hospital, or a long-term care facility.
To qualify to live here, seniors have to be 62 and have an income below about $26,000 a year. Paul Downey of Senior Community Centres says most of the residents live on less than $12,000 a year. Rent is subsidised, so they don't pay more than 60% of their income.
When we look at the gaps in services and the numbers of seniors who don't have adequate income in San Diego and in the state of California, that is a deep concern, and when you multiply that by the demographics that we're going to double the number of seniors in this country between today and 2030, it's a real problem.
The Elder Index suggests more than 40% of seniors in San Diego struggle to make basic ends meet.
What I have here is, you know, a place for me to stay, to sleep, to come home to. I have a place to come home to, so I'm thankful for that I'm not on the street.
That was KPBS reporter Alison St John. The State Elder Index finds the high cost of living in San Diego means a single senior needs income of $23,000 a year to pay for basic necessities, while a senior couple needs $30,000. By the year 2030, there will be more than 700,000 seniors over 65 in San Diego. Our series on aging continues tomorrow with a look at those who play music to keep their mind sharp. This is KPBS Evening Edition.
Masterpiece Mystery.
Sherlock Holmes.
We're obviously looking at a suicide.
That does seem the only explanation of all the facts.
Wrong. It's one possible explanation of some of the facts.
Can you not keep doing this, please?
Sherlock, my masterpiece mystery.
Sunday at 9 on KPBS.
I love KPBS because when I wake up in the morning and that radio station goes on, 89.5 goes on, I know that I am going to get information that I can trust, that I can respect, that I can value, and I know I'm getting the truth.
Tuesday at 10 on KPBS.
Welcome back to the Public Square on KPBS Evening Edition. Earlier this month, San Diego got a look at a proposed massive sculpture being considered for the tip of Navy Pier. The sculpture looks like two sails rising out of the ground, towering 500 feet over San Diego Bay. Well, it's facing some criticism. Some have even called it a set of bunny ears. The Midway Aircraft Museum pitched the idea, and it will begin holding public hearings later this month to find out what people think of it. Well, what do you think? You can tell us by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, and of course you can send me an email directly, jfarian@kpbs.org. Our arts reporter, Angela Carone, actually did a story about the curious beginnings of this design, and you can read all about it at our website, kpbs.org. Now, Dwayne has a recap of tonight's top stories.
Mixed verdicts today for a former San Diego police officer accused of asking for sexual favors from female DUI suspects. Anthony Aravalos was convicted on 8 felony counts and 4 misdemeanors, but he was acquitted of several other charges. And San Diego developer Doug Manchester is buying the Union Tribune newspaper. The deal is expected to close next month. Manchester has hired longtime San Diego radio executive John Lynch to serve as president and CEO of the paper. And you can watch and comment on any of the stories you saw tonight on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks so much for joining us. You have a great night. We will leave you with a look at the forecast.